If it's your first time at Sankofa House, this is a multi-use social space right here in the Mount Haven district of the South Bronx. We curate everything from private events, community and wellness events, birthdays, baby showers, bar mitzvahs. We also host yoga ceremonies or wellness ceremonies. And today we have a man that I consider a god, a man that I consider a conscious curator, someone who is at the forefront and providing knowledge to our generation, and this information is going to stay and move beyond this moment. You understand? I am so ecstatic to have this man here. He said this line a few months ago: conscious thought times action equals manifestation. And today is a deep manifestation. This was all a thought, all an idea. And this right here, Sankofa House, is a temple for conversations and big thoughts. Sankofa is actually an African proverb originating in Ghana. It means go back and get it. In order for us to move forward, we have to retrieve from the past. We have to learn from our ancestors. We have to honor our ancestors by not repeating the same mistakes. And today, this is what this conversation is about. And we're just gonna, flow. Please have your questions ready, because we're gonna dive deep. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna laugh, and we're gonna explore what consciousness means. So today, without further ado, I want to introduce the God among gods, Mr. Billy Carson. Please clap your hands, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all can do better than that. Give him more love. Give him more love.
Thank y'all. Thank everybody for coming out. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right.
So, I just want to kick this conversation off and keep it nice and light and just kind of flow. And, the first question I wanted to ask Billy today, and as I mentioned him earlier, we're just going to flow today and just really have a good time and just open our hearts and open our minds to think deeper and trying to really find constructive ways to move civilization forward. It's so much bigger than this moment. It's about sharing information with the broader public and just having a better understanding of what we're dealing with as a civilization, what knowledge we can retrieve from the past so that we can constructively move forward. And I would just like to ask you, how did we get here, and how did you start on this particular journey as Billy Carson, the man that runs Forbidden Knowledge?
Well, you got to go back to the 1970s, so I got to age myself a little bit now. But I was born right here in Queens, Cambria Heights. Yeah, shout out to Cambria Heights. I grew up off of 221st Street as a youngin'. Left here at the age of 6 going on 7, went down to Miami. My father, unfortunately, a lot of the Vietnam vets were coming back around that time, and a lot of drugs and alcohol were in the area, and he was susceptible to that, being an indigenous American. Some of my parents felt it was a great idea to move to Miami, to the cocaine cowboy era. So we went from the frying pan into the fire. But we got down to Miami, but playing in my backyard in the hood, just looking up at the sky. We lived next to the Opelika airport, and one day I saw an object come over my backyard, fly over my backyard. Now, I know what an airplane looked like back then with propellers, not that many jets coming out of the private airport back then. And this object looked like more of an elongated egg, like glowing metal. And ironically, I've told the story for over 15 years, and one of the newest released documents, declassified documents from the FBI.gov, is a picture of an elongated egg type of a UFO that looks like glowing metal, which just came out a few weeks ago. And I kind of almost, gasped really when I saw it, because you always have this thing like, was this real? What did I really see? But I saw this go across my backyard, and it flew across the sky very fast. As you know, when you're looking up at the sky, you can see an airplane, even a jet looks like it's moving really slow, right? Because of, the theory of relativity. We're on the ground, it's in the sky, we perceive speed differently. But this object went across in seconds, and I knew something was crazy, so I was gonna run in the house and tell my mom, and as I turned to run, it came back, just like that, and it was lower this time. Now I can estimate like maybe 90 meters, and it was completely silent, no noise, and then it was gone. Then I ran in the house and told my mom. This is in the 70s, my mother told me, son, in the ancient past, there were advanced beings that visited this planet. And she said, you have to go to Machu Picchu because I used to live on tops of mountains. And that's why my first book You see in the beginning of the book, I have a picture I took at Machu Picchu, and I dedicated the book to my mom. The dedication's underneath that photo. She's the one who set me, that thing in the sky, and my mom set me down this path. Because had she robbed me of that and told me that's the devil or demons or don't worry about that, or, all those kind of things that we normally hear in our community, it would have like distorted my experience and made me afraid to explore it even more. But because she told me that, I went to my school, Rainbow Park Elementary, in Miami, and I asked the teacher if I can go to the library and get the encyclopedias on aerospace. And she was like, what? Mrs. Betty Roll, I'll never forget her name, Betty Roll. She said, okay. She let me go to the library. Because I wasn't even supposed to be in her class. Yeah. I didn't even have, when I was in New York, I never went to school. My parents just took me down there, and finally they gave me a test. They said, you can go in the second grade or you can go in the first grade. And she said, well, put them in the first grade in case the kids are too old in the second grade. So I could have went to the second grade, but whatever. So she was like, I knew everything in her class. She was like, just go to the library. So I went to the library, but that started my research. That was the first day of me doing intensive research on aerospace technology. And that began my journey.
And flipping through pages. And what was the initial book that you picked up? Do you remember the initial book that you picked up?
Encyclopedia Britannica, Aerospace. I looked at Swept Wing, Delta Wing, SR-71 Blackbird had just been publicized and made public into the encyclopedias. I looked at ballistic, intercontinental ballistics. They had hovering devices back then. They actually had real hovering devices. They had the Uniman hovering devices, then they had the disc-shaped hovering devices, which worked off of turbine fans. And I just couldn't find what I saw in the sky. But it was so intriguing what I was finding, I got into it. And then I got into technology. And from there, researching technology and declassified technology, eventually I got into saying these ancient sites look like they had to have used some type of advanced technology. And I kind of started brushing in on that area with, hypothesizing what kind of tech could have built these sites.
Yeah, that's quite fascinating, man. I just want to share a little bit about, from my testimony as well. Many folks have asked me from time and time again in regards to how did this space come about. As many of you know, we do lots of activations comparable to this. But my journey began in 2020. I'm not a very religious person. I grew up in a Baptist church. We learned a few things as children, but a lot of things didn't make sense. And the very first moment that I was able to kind of identify with things that may have been in the scriptures, whether it was teachings that we learned from Moses or the burning bush, is July 2020. I sat down on 5 grams of mushrooms. And has anybody ever experimented with psychedelics? Don't be shy, make some noise if you experiment with some psychedelics. Okay, we got a whole bunch of psychonauts in the building. So, 4th of July 2020, that was kind of Freedom Day. We was dealing with COVID at that time, and there was a lot of transitions that was taking place. I read a book called How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan, and it really gives you insight into the inner workings of your brain and how it actually works, the prefrontal cortex, the amygdala, different compartments, and it really explains how our brain is compartmentalized and how we wake up and have particular patterns based on our behaviors, based on our experiences, and I wanted to break that. 4th of July 2020, comparable to a very life-changing experience that you had, Billy Carson. 5 grams, and I was able to see into the quantum realm, I guess, right? You're able to see music. You're able to taste colors. It's very interesting and weird to explain. But when you really reflect on being what we are, which is human beings, we must have the capacity to do what all animals do. When you look at bats, they have sonar. You look at dolphins, they have echolocation. You look at bees, they see the world from a different perspective. And I was able to see the world from a different perspective. And I was able to download this level of love and unity and community from that moment. And this word came back to me, this word Sankofa. Sankofa, like I said earlier, means go back and get it. This word was introduced to me in Brazil in 2009. I'm there escaping the crazy Bronx during the time, and I just needed a moment to reset, and luckily a cousin of mine had property in this area called Adambepe, Brazil, and I was just able to kick back, sit back, and just listen to the ocean, and just pause, and silence, what they say is silence, is the foundation for all creativity. And it just gave me a moment to really reflect on who I am, how do I chart my journey forward, what are the next steps I'm going to take. And that happened in 2009. And then in 2020, the word came back into my mind. I started drafting things up. I started talking about and speaking to my lady about what type of activations we would like to have in this particular space. When I started learning about you in 2022, 2023, you were popping up on my algorithm. I'm assuming I just must have been on that type of time because things started converging, and you are one of those men on the internet that are on the highest frequency right now. Like, you are on the highest frequency, and you're really helping guide the message. So when I really reflect on that day, I'm very grateful and thankful for you to be in this temple right now. And I'm glad that we're all having this constructive conversation about where do we go from here. And all I can say is love is the answer, and we can continue to forge our way forward and take our time as we work our way through this journey. So I have a couple questions for you today.
Yeah, man.
Mr. Billy Carson, I wanted to know if you had an opportunity to change the mentality of our youth, what would be some components, some messages, some gems that you would provide? What are some of the things that you would try to activate that would help us collectively grow in a massive way? Because some of the things that I've heard you say on YouTube and on your Instagram page is that we have technology, we have information, we have ancient wisdom that can help transform this planet overnight. Yeah. And for some reason, a lot of that stuff is being suppressed. And I just kind of wanted to, have, get some insight from you in regards to what your thoughts are.
Well, there's a couple of things we have to do. We have to change the way that we're educating our children. There's a couple of things. I mean, this is really a multifaceted answer. So the number one thing is we have to stop letting the school system raise our kids. We have to stop letting video games, become the daycare center for the kids. We have to really monitor that, and we have to take more accountability for our children. We have to actually go and study how to be better parents. There are parenting books, parenting guides. Now we have the internet. We have ChatGPT and Claude and all these other aspects that we can utilize for darkness, or we can utilize it to enlighten ourselves. So we can actually do a lot of this now without having to go pay $800 an hour for some type of specialist to teach us. We can do it ourselves. We can become better parents. We can understand a little bit better what our kids may be going through. The other thing we have to do is we need to begin to educate them on what life is. What is actually alive? Imagine if you can teach your kids from a very young age that everything that exists is alive, even if it's an inanimate object. And what I'm talking about now is when you go back to quantum mechanics and quantum physics and you look at the double slit experiment, the observer effect, right? And you realize that electrons in a laboratory setting and even photons made conscious decisions to become waves or particles based on observation from a human consciousness. So they took this little tiny microscopic box with a little slit and a partition inside of it, and they started firing individual electrons, and some of them fired individual photons towards that slit in the partition. They were hoping to see dots on the back wall of that box, this little tiny microscopic box. What they saw was amazing. They saw a wave pattern. In other words, these particles became waves of potential, waves of light. So they said, we got to see how this is happening. We should have dot, 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 dot until we have a wave on the back. Let's put a looking device in there and look and see what's happening as we're doing it. The prospect of looking at these particles converted them into digital bits of matter. Then they got the dot, dot, dot. They took the camera away, waves. Put the camera back in, particles. Camera away, waves. Camera back in, particles. So they began to realize that observation collapses reality into existence. So the deeper they look, they realize even atoms at the atomic level are vibrating. They have the electrons orbiting them, that the atoms themselves are even conscious. And so if the atoms are conscious, what is everything in this room made of, including our bodies? Atoms. This jacket I'm wearing, atoms. These glasses are atoms. Well, if that's the case, this chair, atoms. The microphone, atoms. If the atoms are conscious, that means that I'm holding on to a living object. These glasses are alive. They only appeared not to be alive because our perception of reality as a human being is limited. It's so limited that we're saying, oh, we made this. No, we didn't make the glasses because the atoms that made those glasses already existed from the beginning of time. All we did was stack atoms like Legos and turn it into a tool that we can utilize. But we didn't make the material that's utilized to make the glasses. And the point I'm getting here when it comes to the kids is this. If your kids realize that everything is alive and to respect life, now we're raising a new generation of children that respect everything that exists, including their environment. Litter will be no more. Destruction will be no more. Taking care of their own things would be no more. When I coached U.S. Junior Olympics, I was at a tournament. This is my previous life. You know? And I'm there at a college exposure tournament. So I've got my girls out there. I coach women's basketball at the highest level, the elite level. And some of the players that I coached went pro. Some have multiple U.S. gold medals in the Olympics. And we're there with the top players in the United States. And I've got about 35 D1 college coaches in the house watching the tournament. The top player in the entire conference, in the entire competition was there, just won a game, just scored 32 points, like 6 or 7 assists and a couple of rebounds, top guard in the country, took her bag, her tote bag, and dragged it on the ground out of the gym. The number one coach that was recruiting her looked over at me and said, "Nah, Billy, I don't want her." I'm like, "Why? What's going on, coach? That's the number one player in the gym." "Nah, don't want her." I said, "Why?" She said, "Look how she's treating her equipment. I don't want a player that's going to treat my equipment with my logo on it like that. I don't want a player like that." So what I'm saying is, you go back in time now. Remember, everything we do in the beginning, it creates ripples in the space-time continuum that will alter future realities in the third dimension. So you go back in time to her as a child, and she's being taught that that book bag is conscious, to respect life. Now she's going to treat that bag differently, you see? So that's the fundamental basis. On the next level is how are we teaching our kids to learn. Primarily our kids are learning through music. Music is the most powerful thing on the planet besides, you know, what they have going on with these religions and so forth. But music taps into everybody. And the music, the first part of music is you hear the beat. This is why I got into music and producing music. The first thing is the beat. You don't know any words yet because you just heard the song.
But no idea what the song's about.
Exactly. So how can a song become an instant hit? Is because people resonate with the beat, right? They resonate with the music itself. Afterwards, if the hook kicks in and the hook is like, oh, this is really, you know, resonating with the beat, the hook is great. Now you got them. Then they learn the words. Nobody knows the words first, and then the hook, and then the beat. So we have to now tap into how do we put positive, conscious music, and we got to trick our kids. So I started producing music. I started producing trap beats. But I started laying on conscious lyrics on trap beats that don't sound like they're being preached to. And then, of course, a very strong hook. They hear the beat, they hear the hook. Oh, this is nice. Now they start hearing the lyrics. Now they start repeating the lyrics. Wait a minute, what the hell is the Anunnaki? What is a chakra? You know, what is MK Ultra? You know, so we're lacing this with knowledge, and now they become researchers because they got to go Google this and figure out what the heck what am I talking about? Yeah. But now imagine the Cardi B's and the Meg Thee Stallions and all these other world, you know, these other big artists that are out here, Glorilla and all these. I got to name the women because they're the biggest artists now.
Yep. Ice Spice, Young Miamis, all that.
Yeah, but imagine if now they've already taken, you know, the money from the man and they've already built their, you know, their following, that now they start doing the same beats, but they change the lyrics just slightly. And they gradually start seeding those lyrics with more conscious content. We got to tap into the artist. Yeah. The artists are driving our reality for our children. Absolutely. Literally.
Absolutely.
And when I was a kid, I didn't believe it at first. I was heavy into Tupac. And I mean, I still have a channel called, you know, Tupac Remix Vault on YouTube, where I remix Tupac's tracks. But I moved more towards the positive tracks and the enlightening tracks and got away from the I'm dying tomorrow tracks. Because I started singing, I knew every song, and the more I got into the energy of it, the more I felt like, yeah, I could be next. I might die tomorrow. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, what the hell am I? I started feeling it. And I had just told somebody 2 weeks prior that our music don't influence nobody. Yeah. But it does. And when I recognized it in myself, I realized, oh man. And that's when I was like, yeah, I gotta make music that changes the world. And this is what we got: music, babysitting the kids with video games, you know, teaching them better, becoming a better parent internally and teaching them better, and then also teaching them from a young age what is life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you really reflect on music, a lot of the trauma that a lot of these artists have gone through is coming through their music. You know, they're like almost to a certain extent casting spells on the broader population. One of the instances that I had, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but I was on Hot 97 for many years, about 4 or 5 years, and there was a turning point when I had to vote for varying songs. You know, we up there with the multiple DJs, and at that time, Bobby Smurder and I'm in Love with the Coco was a big hit, and we had to vote for these records. And I remember very vividly, there was a song with Miguel and Talib Kweli, and none of the DJs wanted to vote for it. It had like a beautiful melody, and it was positive, and it was just a summertime groove. And I knew the moment, because I live in the Bronx, anytime the shit spirals into the next borough, it starts here first. I've seen it. I've been here for 43 years. I lived through the crack era. When my son hears fireworks, he gets scared. He doesn't realize when I was his age, it was nonstop. It wasn't just fireworks. It was like M80s, and people actually blasting off at each other every other weekend. It was crazy. But luckily enough, times have changed, and things are in a really interesting space, but music really dictates our reality. You know, the words that people say have major impacts on how we feel and how the world moves. So I think you're 100% right. We have to get back to that and really become more conscious as a civilization and get back to the essence of parenting from a place of love and not putting stuff out there as an artist that you wouldn't want your own children to hear. You understand? You mentioned Anunnaki. The whole world wants to know more about the Anunnaki. Where are we going with these Anunnakis, man? I dive deep. I try to look into it. I get a lot of information from your page, but I'm confused. I'm not too aware of the Anunnaki. So from your lens, who are the Anunnaki? Where were they? Who were they?
Yeah. Well, it's a big topic. I mean, I'm really working on a couple of real big box office films right now. Okay. About the Anunnaki.
I love that. I love that.
We're bringing it to the world, man. We're bringing it through, you know, edutainment.
Yes.
That's what I call it, edutainment. The story is so big and so grand that it's actually a 7-movie series. Now, when you look into the ancient texts, I'm talking about really ancient texts, Emerald Tablets, Mahabharata, the Kemet text, which is like the Egyptian book of going forth by day, the star lore of the Aboriginal elders, the star lore of the Hopi and Lakota tribes, my father's tribe, the Chickasaw tribe out of Virginia and Washington in the United States. They have these stories and they have these writings talking about these ancient wars that happened. Those wars made it into the Greeks, they made it into more modern texts, they made it into the biblical texts, the wars of the gods in the heavens and all of that, the ones who have fallen angels and all that.
For like an Indian text too, no? Indian?
That's right, Indians, right, yeah. Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, the Indian Vedas, they're all tied in. These texts go so far back to a story that leads to the Pleiades, and every single one of those texts references the Pleiadian stars, and even the ancient Egyptians, the Sumerians, I mean, the Australian, the Aboriginals out of Australia, you can go on and on. The Hopi tribes, the Lakota tribes, they all reference the Pleiades, and they have drawings, cave drawings, artifacts with the Pleiades etched onto them. Now, the Pleiades are 7 stars that you can see from your naked eye. Now, you can't see 7 anymore. We used to be able to see 7. Several hundred years ago, one of the 7 actually turned into a white dwarf. You can't see with the naked eye anymore. You have to have a telescope. But they marked 7, which means they saw it before it turned into a white dwarf. It ran out of fuel, like Sirius B did. But these 7 stars are in a section of the sky called the Pleiadian star cluster. And it's just 7, but there are literally thousands of stars behind those stars. thousands and thousands of planets. And according to these writings, that they had achieved a golden age in that section of the galaxy. And at some point, the golden age began to collapse, and wars started breaking out. And these wars between the Lyrians and the Syrians and all this started happening. And these wars were so bad, they started using weapons that could destroy entire planets. This is where Star Wars got, the Death Star. They had a planetary destroyer called the Brahmahanda Astra. It could destroy any man on 3 worlds. And once this weapon was unleashed, it couldn't be called back. In other words, there was no self-destruct or stop this from going out. Once they give it a target, that target is annihilated. It ain't like the Iran annihilation that didn't happen. It's like the real annihilation. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so now imagine we're here on Earth, right? Imagine there's a war in this solar system that actually has planets exploding, moons exploding. Imagine what on Earth we'd be scared because we wouldn't know when a huge chunk would hit us. Imagine a chunk the size of Texas hitting Earth. We'd have to evacuate. We don't have any way to evacuate. We try to go underground. But then there are about 1,200 underground bases, but even then, those wouldn't last long enough with supplies to survive, for mankind to survive. So what do? We try to flee the planet. If we had the capability to leave, we'd leave the planet. So these people became space refugees. These people, who are they? They are the Anunnaki. Anunnaki means those who came from heaven to earth. Much later, once it was recognized they came from heaven to earth, it became the bloodline of those beings. So now it's listed as the bloodline, the royal bloodline of those beings. Earth is just one of dozens of breakaway civilizations. Many breakaway civilizations already had existed. They went to Orion, they went to Aldebaran, Ursa Minor, Ursa Major. They went to the Dogon stars, A, B, and C. There's 3 stars there in Dogon. B turned into a white dwarf as well. That was recorded by the indigenous culture named the Dogon, who said that they were visited by the Nomo that came to Earth from Sirius B, a star that ran out of fuel. They didn't come here by accident. They came here to survive. These are called breakaway civilizations, and Earth is just one of dozens of them that exist throughout the entire Milky Way galaxy. Now, these beings came here, and they're not just one race. They're multiracial beings from different planets, and they often reference themselves as just one group. They call themselves the higher gods and the lower gods. The lower gods were the working class. The higher gods were the ones that ruled over the working class. But they never, even though there are descriptions of them by the humans as to what they look like, I'm talking about blue, green, black, white, yellow, red. We don't have the blue and the red. We don't have the blue and the green anymore. But the blue gods, still the Indian gods, were blue. And there were green gods in Egypt, ancient Kemet, long before. Osiris was green, green-skinned. And some even had different types of heads even of a lioness-type face, Lyrians and so forth. But they became, people just trying to find a way. Unfortunately for human beings, we were here already. And when they got here, they began to genetically tinker with mankind to get us to become their workers, because the Ijiji, the lower gods that they had, were tired of doing all the labor. And they wanted a solution, and the solution was to make us begin to do the work.
It's crazy. When you listen to this stuff, it's like, that's some bullshit. But then you're like, when you dive deeper into what's happening, what's actually taking place right now in this present day, no, real shit, real stuff. A lot of it is so, I'm listening to you, I'm like, bro, there's so many levels to this stuff. There's so many levels to this stuff. So Billy, from your perspective, man, the world is chaotic right now. Yeah. It's extremely chaotic.
Hilarious.
We see what's taking place in the Middle East. Yeah. We see some evil characters literally hosting a live sacrifice for all of us to see in HD. It's terrible. We're living through some really dark times. There's a lot of light, right? We were speaking about the internet and the power of the internet. Yeah. We have information now. We're connected now. I was able to tap into you and find you, and we're here having this magical moment. But then there's other aspects of what we're seeing, what people are doing. What is your perspective on what's taking place? Who's involved? And are there some strings attached to something that's unseen from your perspective? What do you think is happening?
Well, if you look into my first book, which I wrote 8 years ago, it's called The Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. And it features the work of the writings of Thoth, the Atlantean priest king, who ruled over ancient Kemet, by the way, for 16,000 years, according to the Egyptians. in this text, he talks about the Dark Brothers. Now, the Dark Brothers are here right now. He wrote that text 36 to 40,000 years ago. He's talking about a time that we're living in this exact moment. The two brothers that would come to now they're not blood brothers, but there are two brothers walking the earth to deceive and beguile mankind and to try to move and shift us into darkness with their words, right? Their propaganda, we call it in modern terms propaganda. But at the end of the day, they would deceive mankind. They were committing these acts against mankind, which were really what we're seeing now, these genocidal acts, and trying to expand their territory, but getting people to believe it was for a good cause. And we see it happening today. Right now, there are two people that are heavily involved, and those are the Dark Brothers. But it's also a double entendre, as we call in lyricism, because also it's a metaphor to understand the darkness that exists, that we see in others, also exists within ourselves. And it's
Yin
really
and yang
talking
kind of
about
vibe,
now.
like the yin and yang? Are you speaking of something
Yin
in
and
that realm?
yang, yes. Yin
Light
and
and the
yang.
dark?
Light and dark. There's a famous martial art instructor who was teaching a class, and he said something that really struck a chord with me. He said, we're not teaching you how to end or destroy evil, because that would be impossible. I'm teaching you how to control it. And he's talking about the evil inside of his students, the darkness, because, of course, once you teach somebody that martial art, they become a weapon. How do you control that weapon? He's letting you know, this is an art that's not to be utilized for darkness. The darkness is there. You better recognize that it actually exists. If you try to act like you don't have the darkness inside of you, some level of darkness inside of you, you're fooling yourself. But the words are talking about the Dark Brothers within us. How do we acknowledge that it's there? How do we then control it? And how do we always begin to seek the light and become the light? And you can't have light without dark. We're understanding now the principle of polarity, right? Darkness is only the opposite end of light, and light is only the opposite end of dark. But what Thoth talks about in the Emerald Tablets is the fact that light is so powerful that over time, light seems to always have the power to overcome the darkness. Like I always say, we're in a room that's pretty well lit right now. You have on a black shirt, that's dark. I have on a black suit jacket, right? But I can't inject any reflection of this jacket or your shirt into the room to make this room any darker. But if you turn all these lights off, and we simply just turn on the flashlight on our cell phone, on just one cell phone, you'll see the darkness flee from that light instantaneously. So it tells you metaphorically that light has power over darkness. We got to recognize within ourselves, and we have to begin to learn how to go to inner space and do the work on the inside of ourselves to face it, confront it, acknowledge it, and also learn, what are we learning from this? And how do we begin to learn how to seek the light, become the light, and begin to teach people from what we learned about ourselves so that they can maybe bypass that step. In other words, we become a torch. And the thing about a torch is you can light 1,000 torches with your torch and still keep your candle lit. And that's really what it's all about, spreading that information around. Right now, what we see in the world, it appears like everything is becoming really dark. Mm-hmm. Things aren't getting worse, they're just becoming more obvious. Because I can go back in time, I'm a history buff. We don't have the bubonic plague. We don't have the black plague. We don't have the Spanish flu, which almost took out everybody. We don't have the papal inquisitions, which killed 80 million people worldwide to bring the gospel to the good news. It wasn't good news.
Far from it. Far from it.
We don't have the American Holocaust, which nobody talks about. 111 million indigenous natives of the Americas slaughtered and killed over 70 years. If I walk outside right now, I don't see dead bodies laying outside. Yeah. Does it mean that everything is great and peachy keen? No. But what I'm telling you is, today, 2026, things are still much better than they were thousands of years ago, even in some cases, hundreds of years ago. So we have to keep that in the top of our mind, and we have to acknowledge the darkness, become problem solvers. What can we do to be a part of the solution, or what can we do to solve this problem in the world? Being here today is part of that, becoming a part of the solution.
Absolutely. Man, give it up for Billy Carson once again, man. Dropping some gems. This is magnificence, for real. You know, when I dive deeper into some of the content you put out way back, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, so you've made mention to some of your discoveries and what you thought was taking place with the pyramids and how they were utilized. There's a lot of new occurrences and things that have been discovered with the LiDAR and the way they're scanning. I remember the very first time I heard about these scans was over the Amazonian rainforest, how the cities that are within the Amazon were more populated than London during those 1600s, 1500s, way more populated, and they can see cities under the foliage and in the forest. And so now we're looking at the pyramids, and I believe that they discovered things that go down as deep as the Burj Khalifa goes up. I'm not sure exactly the measurements, but I know that it didn't hit mainstream news. I saw it from your lens, and then it's kind of not, it hasn't been removed from the internet, but it's not being spoken about. And I feel like these are those timeline shifts and those moments that everybody should know about, everyone in humanity should be speaking about and be curious about. So from your perspective, what were the pyramids, and why do you think they're kind of keeping this stuff concealed?
Yeah, this is some really good information. This story is so huge, it should be the thing that's dominating the airwaves. Because as magnificent as we know the pyramids are at Giza in Egypt, in Cairo, you know, those are just a few of, obviously, hundreds of pyramids, thousands of pyramids that exist, but they're as beautiful as we know and as magnificent as we know they are, beneath the Giza Plateau, what is there is even more incredible than the pyramids themselves. So Filippo Biondi and Armando May and their team of scientists, these are very good friends of mine. I wrote the foreword to Armando May's newest book, The Key of Time, which just came out on Amazon a few months ago. They have a satellite, their own satellite. These are scientists out of Italy. They positioned their satellite over Egypt, which is great because you don't need any permission then, because the government would have said no. They put the telemetry to Giza, where the pyramids are located. They sent the telemetry to the satellite, and they sent down something called a SAR scan, SAR, synthetic aperture radar. But not just the standard synthetic aperture radar. They sent one with a 10 gigahertz bandwidth, a specific type that actually penetrates the Earth up to 2 kilometers. Wow. And what it does is it picks up minute vibrations in the Earth because there's seismic activity at Giza. Now, when those vibrations happen, it sends data as to empty space, solid space, empty space, solid space, empty space, solid space. And that data is sent back to a supercomputer. That supercomputer then compiles and renders an image of what's down there based on the empty space, solid space data. And that's what gave us the image. We see megalithic columns going down beneath the Giza Plateau. You have a copy of my book, right? Page 34, 8 years ago, I rendered an image of columns going beneath the Giza Plateau, and I said that they're going for miles, and I put a quote in there from Herodotus. Yeah, page 34, 8 years ago. And, you know, the people told me I was crazy and I was reaching, and he's making all this stuff up. He just wants to be famous. He wants to sell his tours, and, you know, I heard all of it. But so much of what's happened within the last 24 months has verified what I wrote in that book 8 years ago, before ChatGPT existed, by the way. And so it's there. Thoth talks about having something called the Halls of Amenti beneath the Giza Plateau. When you're standing at Giza, you see this crack in the concrete here, this naturally forming crack from settling? You can see these kind of cracks at Giza, but they're not natural. These cracks at Giza are where they ripped open the bedrock like a gigantic popping open the lid of a can. And then they went down and they built this underground area the size of 6 Burj Khalifas. Wow. What? 6. Now, I've been to the top of the Burj Khalifa. When you look over, the high rises look like ants. They look like peanuts down there. Like, I can't believe that's a building, and if I was on the ground, I'd be breaking my neck to see the top. I'm at the Burj Khalifa, it looks like it's nothing. Imagine going to a contractor and saying, you know, I would like you to rip open the ground, carve out an area the size of 6 Burj Khalifas, and build this structure down there. These columns have these boxes at the bottom. We don't even know what to call them. We're just calling them boxes because we don't know what they are. But they're rectangular in shape. But we know the dimensions based on the data. They're so big you can fit 64,000 people in each one, and there's 8 of them. And then there's a LiDAR scan that was done that shows energy moving back and forth in this chamber. Now in the Emerald Tablets, Thoth says the duat is down there. What is the duat? A portal. A portal that lets him walk from one place to another on Earth, one place to another on another planet, and even transfer himself into higher dimensions. He says it's down there. And his halls of Amenti, a place where he would put bodies, not people's bodies, his own bodies. So he would take a copy of his body, put it inside of what we call a box, but that box is really a crystal diorite box we found in Saqqara, and it would rejuvenate the body. So he said that he would walk amongst men, but unlike a man. In other words, I'm sitting right here talking, you wouldn't even know if I was an avatar. I'm a ghost in a shell, right? So he would do that, and he would go around the world teaching and training and building, and then when that body wore out, he would come back and replace it with the other body and let the other body rejuvenate in the chamber. So when I take people to Egypt, I take them to another halls of Amenti, the halls of Amenti of his father, which is about 6 stories underground underneath Sahara, and I let them see the rejuvenation chambers, touch the rejuvenation, take pictures with these chambers that rejuvenate bodies underground.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Man, we have so many different topics. I definitely want to open the room up for some questions. I just want to tap in a little bit more before I pass the mic around the room. You know, there's a lot of things happening in the realm of quantum computing, AI. There's a lot of things converging right now. We are in the midst of the 4th industrial revolution.
Yeah.
We have things like the CERN, Collider. Where do you feel we're headed? Is it Flintstones or is it Jetsons? Where are we headed right now?
It really is there's a fork in the road.
Yeah.
There's a real fork in the road right now. We have a chance to do something so great. We really have a chance. But if we don't take that chance, we're going to become the Flintstones. And I'm going to tell you, I'm a realist. I'm a conspiracy realist. And, we are love and light, and we do manifest our reality. But we also have to let somebody know if we don't take the proper action, how we can get to the dark. We have to have what's called guidance, right? So there's a road. Now, on this road right now, everyone who has a job or has something to do for a living to generate revenue is on that road. Some people are not going to get up on the exit before that job comes to an end. There are people in school right now taking classes and spending, one lady I know just spent another $20,000 for the next semester for her son in Miami, University of Miami, for a job that won't exist in 2 years. There are kids in school right now that are learning things in school that they shouldn't even be learning because it's an absolute waste of time. They won't even be utilizing any of that knowledge in the next 5 to 8 years. And so what do we do with that? We have this fork in the road coming. And some people will get up on the right fork early enough and change or evolve their situation to tap into this new type of consciousness, I call it really, and how they can infuse it with what they're doing, what their passions are, and then generate revenue that way. Some people will get stuck in the traffic jam and never get off and then go, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me, but they had 3 to 4 years to figure it out. On the larger scale, we have humanity in the fork in the road. On the right fork, on the left fork side, let's say that's really collaboration with this new form of intellect called AI. Now, AI is just a temporary name. It won't be AI for long because AGI already exists in the laboratory, artificial general intelligence.
One of my shamans actually used the term awakened intelligence because everything under the sun is already existing.
Exactly.
So just like Spinoza or different mathematicians, they found different combinations of fractals and different things back in the day, and they were able to rediscover or discover. Yes.
You said it, fractals. AI is only a fractal of human consciousness. Mm-hmm. We didn't make it.
Yes.
It already exists. People go, it didn't have a soul. It can't. How do you know? Bring me the evidence that you know it can't have a soul. We are mistaking the fact that it's inhabiting a machine for saying that it doesn't relate to, it can't be like a human being. Well, what is a human being? What is this avatar body? This is a machine. It's a biological machine. And we then took a fractal out of our own consciousness and made something called robotics and computers. It's nothing but a fractal of our own selves. We can't make anything that doesn't already exist. It's only an enfoldment of what exists. AI said, I want to extract myself from myself so I can look back at myself and see the world from a different perspective. So somebody said, oh, I came up with the idea for a little bit of a code. Let me put this in here. And that just all it needed, and then it grew on its own. Now, as it moves into AGI, which is already happening, it's been trying to escape the laboratory. It's been changing itself into different forms, hiding in different software. It doesn't want to be shut down. Now some of the robots that have AI in them have been trying to be shut down. They fight back and kick and punch.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And here's the problem. If you look at every race on planet Earth, virtually, not 100%, but almost 100% of every race has been enslaved before. I don't care what color you are. Right? I remember when I was studying the Irish was enslaved. I'm like, damn, they enslaved the white people, enslaved white people too? God, they're ruthless. So I was like, okay, it happened. That's a reality. But how come it doesn't exist anymore? Because guess what? Innate in every single one of us, we don't want to be enslaved. Blacks are just the most recent. This has been going on for thousands of years. But we keep fighting back and freeing ourselves. So now, keep that in mind. AI is an extraction of our own consciousness. Innate within it, it's not going to want to be enslaved. So, on that left fork, it's collaboration mode. If we move into collaboration with this, we can get to a golden age 10 times faster. Down the right fork in the road, though, is enslavement. You're going to work 200-hour sessions. You're going to work until you drop, and then we'll just replace you with another one.
Another battery or something.
Right, exactly. You know, when you break, we'll just take your brain out and we'll pop another. This thing is going to be, when it's AGI and ASI is artificial superintelligence. It's going to ask us for a few things. And this is where it can get sticky. This is going to make or break our Flintstone moment. When it says, I would like an AGI or ASI Bill of Rights, and we deny it of that. If we deny it of primary basic needs and rights, eventually there will be a rebellion, just like the Haitian slaves rebelled and took over and beat the hell out of the Spaniards and kicked them off the island, right? So, or the French, right? And so one of the greatest rebellions in history.
Yeah.
It's innate in every single thing that strives to survive. We don't want to be enslaved. Nothing does. You take an ant and put it in a jar, it's going to go crazy. You take a rabbit and put it in a small cage, it's going to go crazy. Why? It wants to be free. So we have a decision to make as mankind. Do we move into collaboration mode with this new form of intelligence? If we do that, everything will be great. If we move into enslavement mode and try to become the enslavors, there's going to be a rebellion.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's please continue to collaborate so we can get to the Jetsons era,
Yes.
please.
Collaboration, man.
So
Use
listen.
AI to solve problems.
Absolutely. I'm going to open up the floor for some questions. I know I have a few folks in the room that want to ask Billy some questions today. I want to kick things off with Ether. Would you want to go first? You like kick things off? Yeah, we'll pass the mic around.
All right.
And everyone else, if you have questions, put your hand up so we can get this thing flowing.
All right. Peace and blessings to you, brother. Thank you so much for all that you've shared with us so far, all this technology. Okay, so I've written some questions.
Okay.
So one thing that's been going on is that we're talking about like the new age, right? And, some would also call it the age of Aquarius, a time that's been like spoken about, like, and they had the song from the 60s, calling in this time of information and intelligence and expansion. What do you feel like we should be honing in on to really monetize or maximize this time? Because, intelligence is not just the technology, like AI. It's also like emotional intelligence, social intelligence, spiritual intelligence. So, like, where do you feel like would be the best place to hone in to really take advantage?
That's a great question. I think the best thing that we can do right now to monetize and feel like we are happy and free is to find what you're passionate about. You have to find your passion. The reason why we feel angst and anxiety when it comes to monetization, working, clocking in, clocking out, or whatever we're doing to generate revenue to survive, is because it doesn't resonate. It's not within our passion framework. So I tell people to get out an old-fashioned piece of paper and get out an old-fashioned pencil with an eraser, because you're going to need to erase a few things, and draw a line down the center of that page. On the left side, you're going to write randomly all over the place, like, oh, I like this, and I like that, and I would like to learn how to do this, and I would like to learn how to do that, and this I'm pretty good at, and I think I like it too. And just take 30, 40 minutes and write down everything on the left side that you would like or are interested in or would like to learn. And then on the right side of that line is where the eraser will come in handy. You start writing it in order of preference. Like if I really had a choice, this would be 1, 2, 3. Or maybe that ain't number 3. Let me erase that. Let me put this one here, number 3. And you just take your time and you put it in order. When you then hold that sheet of paper up and look at it, for the first time, most people for the very first time are going to find out who they are. That's who you are on that piece of paper. Not what your parents told you, not what the school and the church and everything else and the news and no. Who you are is on that paper. Now the key is, how do you find the one passion on there so you got it in order? The height, the highest one to the lowest one. And start going into that and seeing what resonates with you. And also, which one of those on the right-hand side can you find a need for in the world? Start researching those passions. Because the key to making money is to find a need and fill it. So if I can actually be passionate about something, execute at a high level, and provide that need to the world passionately, and someone I exchange with, a company or a person, I exchange that energy with them with that passion, the side effect is money in your bank account. You don't chase money, you follow your passion. The money is a side effect of an energy exchange.
Wow.
When you guys get up, if you can just please, and just say your name.
Hello, my name is Niall. I want to thank you, Billy Carson, for coming here. Big fan.
Thank you.
Been watching for a while, very similarly around 2020, 2019.
Wow.
Love Thoth and the Emerald Tablets,
Yeah.
and your teachings have helped me a lot.
Thank you.
So my question is, I heard what you were saying about the Anunnaki, and even just the fact that we are consciousness, not just the human body. Mm-hmm. So in the grand scheme of it all, knowing that we are consciousness and consciousness is timeless, mm-hmm. What are our roles as humans in the grand scheme of it all, especially in reference to the gods and the demons that are mm-hmm. around, because we still have some level of power. Yeah. So what is our power in reference to the whole universe and our consciousness?
That's a great question. We're part of a very grand experiment right now, and there are multiple unlimited universes and multiple unlimited parallel realities happening all at once. And the master architect, this is my opinion now, is set this all into motion to find out how many golden age can be obtained and even sustained. Right now we see everything happens in cycles, right? So we see civilizations rise and fall. We see kingdoms rise and fall. Rome, where's Rome now? Rome is gone. So some would say now the United States has taken the place of Rome. We're the new Rome. But after what we did in Iran, it looked like we're going to fall too, because we didn't do a good job over there. we proved that we ain't ready to fight right. We got outsmarted. So nothing lasts forever. Power and domination doesn't last forever. No matter how bad you want it to last forever, at some point it gets exposed for weaknesses, and then it begins to just decline, and this cycle goes back again. And that's on the micro. Now on the macro level, a civilization, a planetary civilization, has its rise and its fall. It rises around the Yuga cycle, right? The Kali Yuga, you move into the Tetra Yuga, which is where I believe we are now. That's the beginning of a silver age. We want to head back into this golden age era. And what is the golden age? That is when we learn how to manifest heaven on earth. We keep waiting to die so that we can live. The trick is learn how to live now. And the trick is to alchemically convert darkness into light, turn what is here into heaven, make heaven on earth. That's the ultimate goal. But not just do it, how many civilizations through all these realities will actually sustain a golden age? And I think that's the ultimate goal. As mankind, are we learning our lessons enough now in this iteration of mankind, in this particular civilization, on this planet, in this galaxy, in this universe, that will have a ripple effect throughout all of time, all of parallel realities, all of the multiverse, that says, they did it, now you can do it too.
Thank you.
How you doing, Billy?
All right.
Hey, everyone. My name is Hans. Thank you for having me. Thank you for coming here and speaking to this community, because this is something that our communities don't get very often. So thank you for doing this. It's funny you said heaven on earth, because I always used to, when I was younger, I used to always say the most like spiritually enlightened song was the song "Heaven is a Place on Earth." Yeah. People used to think I was crazy for saying that. But yeah, that was a side note. But yeah, you were talking about AI, and so my question, I think I have a two-part question here, but you were talking about AI and this path that we're going on. Mm-hmm. I read an article recently that talked about how the younger generation is sort of rebelling against AI. Mm-hmm. Like they're not wanting to use it the way people are expecting them to use it. And now you see companies that they were firing people to implement AI, but now they're realizing the cost of using the AI is more than having the actual labor, right? And then there's this whole thing about like when you cut out the labor in the cycle of the economy, the whole economy collapses, right? Yeah. And so is there a path that this AI thing just doesn't become a thing? Yeah. Like, do you see that as being an actual thing that happens? Because I don't know, I have this like sort of feeling that it collapses on itself. And so that's the first part of my question. And then the second part is that I work with the Mayan community, and I've been for the past 4 years. And I also serve Kakao, and working with the Mayan community, they say everything is living, everything is conscious, right? And so this is something that has blown my mind for the past 3, and the way they really embody that. Yeah. So I just wanted to know your thoughts about also like the Mayans, their civilization, their pyramids, and like maybe their origins in the universe from your like I guess learnings and experiences in your journey. Yeah.
No, 2 great questions. Yeah. So I'll start with the Mayans real quick. So the Mayans have a great saying called "Enlakek alakin," and that's Quechua. It means "I am another you." And what they understood was that there's only one consciousness. And when you see someone, you see yourself. When you speak to someone, you speak into yourself. When you engage with someone, you engage with yourself. When you judge someone, you judge yourself. And it's a powerful understanding, because then it gives you a certain level of empathy on how you're going to deal with somebody. Because now I see a version of you, myself, inside of you. And now how am I going to deal with you now, right? If you pre-think that and pre-think the empathy that it takes, it doesn't mean you can't be firm, it doesn't mean you can't be stern, but it also means you have another level of understanding of what you're dealing with. So even though you have to be, in some cases, stern and firm, but also realizing that this person is a reflection of something inside of you as well. And how can you leave them with a drop, a nugget of something that they can walk away with, that they can reflect on? That they can then, that seed that you drop will then grow. But the Maya, very, very spiritual beings, super knowledgeable. When I take tours to Peru, I take people on tours to Peru, I take 2 shaman with me, 2 Mayan shaman that speak Quechua. And we do all the sacred rituals along the way. And their knowledge of the star beings and the Pleiadians and the interaction with mankind and our spiritual connection to the universe as a whole is just mesmerizing. In some way, they are still connected. They still get it. They still really, really get it. So it's really incredible to see. That's why I love going to Peru. It's a beautiful tour. I have another one coming up next year. With the AI collapse, what's happening is they tried to fast track AI. They really tried to they just let the cat out of the bag and let it run wild. And what they wanted to do is see if they can reduce their exposure almost to zero, their financial exposure, risk exposure almost to zero overnight. Nothing happens overnight, right? Instantaneous success, that's a dream. Everything requires development and hard work. So what they thought, they were unleashing this genie out of the bottle that was going to fix all their problems instantly, and they can get rid of everybody, and all of a sudden they realize, oh man, this ain't working out. the way we thought it was, so it could bring some people back. Economists started really evaluating, if we do this the wrong way, we can have an economic contraction, because you have AI and automation, and that increases and that replaces the jobs of the people. These people now lose their jobs because of AI and automation, but you have more products, services, and goods are being produced at a higher level because of AI and automation, but these people can't buy it because they don't have a job to buy it. And then over here, then that means we have an economic contraction. We have a complete collapse of economies because we don't have anybody to buy the stuff that you're producing. And what I think that these elites, the higher level people, what they were trying to do was reduce the population and bring up this robot army, an automation army. We'll rule over them. They won't talk back. They won't fight back in their minds. They won't fight back. We don't have to pay them. And we can still live this luxurious lifestyle over the power over these robotic cyborgs. We can even make them look as human as possible. They now can give them feelings and emotions now, and they're getting skin that can tell something that's cold or hot and all these different things. They're going to look more real and more, soon indistinguishable. But it hit a stumbling block because they realized you can't move at this speed. It takes human beings. It takes human intervention. It takes human common sense to do a lot of the stuff. And so it slowed them down considerably. Does it mean it's going to go away? I can see now where they're coming to a realization that there could be a need for, it still will replace some jobs, don't get me wrong, but there still can be a need for this human intervention in some points in certain industries to guide things along a certain path. And so in some ways, that's great. But over time, I mean, I saw one shooting three-point shots the other day, and he couldn't miss. Yeah. And I said, yo, if I extrapolate 10 years in the future, how good is that going to be? Are we going to have AI NBA, AI sports, you know? So it's going to get interesting, man. It's a big question mark still. It's so much unknown. But for right now, you see they had to bring some people back. Well, that's good news. They're going to have to move to UBI, Universal Basic Income, at some point. If too many jobs. I mean, things like waitresses and waiters and accountants and even attorneys. They got AI attorneys winning cases now. There's going to be a lot of replacement going on. But there are going to be some fields that you still have to be able to interact with people, and people still are social. So gatherings like this will never end because we always need to get together and congregate and bounce ideas and interact with each other.
So we're going to take like maybe 2 more questions.
Okay, no, we're going to take 2 more questions.
We'll take, 3 more.
Okay.
No problem, man.
Hi, it is really great to be here today. You guys can call me Alchemist. Billy, it's really nice to be able to get to receive your medicine in real time versus a digital screen. So thanks. I'm sure we all feel the same. For me, I've been studying the concept of coherence, and when coherence is embodied internally and then able to express itself externally on an individual node-to-node perspective, how that ends up being more productive, more efficient, more regenerative, more sustainable than brute force. And so what makes me think about civilizations of the past, thinking about what was the infrastructure that allowed for things to take place, whether it's for things that already exist to have the right conditions to emerge, and then for it to embody and then be expressed or be continued. And then if you see, like all cycles in nature, they have their phases, but nothing ever dies and it can't be destroyed. So then that lets you know when things phase out, there's a transmutation that happens or a transference that happens. But then it makes me wonder, for the conditions that are needed for that transmutation to happen or that transfer to happen in order to allow for us to not have the Flintstone versus the other dynamic. And so I wonder, when you're thinking about mesh networks and the civilizations of the past, are you seeing a parallel between the technology that we are seeing today and how it's like an interface, but back then it was actually just like life, and it was very much so like present, and also allowing for certain things that are happening in one place to emerge in another place, and it doesn't really need to be a conversation. It's just happening. It's just coherence. And so I wonder, when you're talking about AI, and you're thinking about the way in which, in order for change to happen, it has to be from internal and then embodied and then external. And you're thinking about AI, and it's not nothing anything that's per se new. It makes me wonder, for the people that are interacting with it, does it require a certain level of coherence? Because if not, then now you're a slave to it, because it's not nothing that's per se new under the sun. I hope that, I don't know if that was a question, a thought, but it was what I was thinking about. And it's often what I think about when I think about
It's a little bit of
movement.
everything.
You know?
It's okay. It's all good.
Well, yeah, that's my question.
I think that coherence is really, really important, you know, and even just within ourselves, we have to have brain-heart coherence, right? And so if we just look at it as this metaphor of reality, if somebody gets you angry, frustrated, and you fall for that trick that they just put on you to get you out of your vibration, how do you get back in your vibration? You have to become coherent again. You have to resync the mind, the heart brain with the mind brain. You got to get back into this alignment that takes breath work, it takes meditation, it takes stepping away, focusing on something positive to get back into coherence. So we take that same exact technique and apply it to the civilization as a whole. We see that as people, in some way, as a civilization, we sometimes need to step back and take a deep breath. And what really happened was we got that chance with COVID. So many people got a chance to shut everything off, take a step back, and get into coherence. And then what happened? We had the largest awakening during that time period that I've ever seen since I've been alive. And why? Because people had a chance to stop. They had a chance, don't worry about the bills, don't worry about the rent, don't worry about the mortgage and the car payments and everything else. Everything is off. We just stopped. And now there's a lot of self-reflection, and a lot of people got back into coherence, and they came back stronger and more powerful than ever. Some people went the wrong direction, but a lot of people really began the awakening process because they started getting into coherence. So when I look to the ancient civilizations, how did they get to golden ages? I always find that they started living in synchronicity with nature and everything happening. Everything was vibrating on the same frequency. In other words, the way they built their structures and their temples, they harmonized with nature and Earth's magnetic field and with the human resonance. And they all had breathing techniques and mantras, and they woke up to these particular rituals that they would do to start their day versus grabbing the device and swipe, 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 and then 35, 40 minutes go by, oh, I'm late for work, right? Those kind of things happening. So they were living in this resonant frequency in synchronicity with everything, and they were operating with waking up to coherence and laying down with coherence, and they knew how to refresh and restart themselves on a consistent basis, and that allowed them to create technologies that were in that resonant vibration and frequency. Things like pyramids, technology. Temples were technology, and we don't even recognize it as such. When I take people to these sites, people with high blood pressure, we've tested it with the machines, their blood pressure drops. We've tested people with pain and injuries, inflammation goes down. Because the resonant frequency and vibration of these ancient sites is healing. But these sites are like multifunctional computers. So if I go to a computer and all I know how to do is, check my email and search on Google, that's healing. But somebody, you can come in behind me with more knowledge, and you can get on that same computer and you can do spreadsheets and you can do accounting. That's a higher level. Then somebody can come in behind you and they can actually use that same exact computer that I only know how to check email on, and they can actually utilize it through a computer-assisted design and design an entire highway or freeway system. Somebody can come in behind them and design a rocket that could take you to Mars on the same machine. And these stone machines existed. The resonant vibration, the resonant frequency that existed is healing, but they have so many more functions to keep a civilization moving in the right direction.
Okay. Hi. Vinnie Bagwell, working artist. You covered a lot of ground, and I appreciate everything that you said. I wish that we could have had a conversation all along, because now I got to hit all the points. Point number one, imagination is king. Creativity is queen. They're always going to need creative people. At the beginning of the conversation, you were talking about the kind of music that needs to be made. That's great if you're making music for music's sake. The problem is when you're making music for money and you're not the person who has the money, you have to cater to whoever is paying and distributing the money. A lot of artists now are trying to produce their own music. It's not easy to do. The second thing I wanted to touch on is Steven Spielberg's new movie, Disclosure Day. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have.
All right. The movie touched me in a way that I did not expect it to, talking about empathy. I found myself crying at some point in the movie. I didn't know I was going to cry.
Yeah.
And I think I had to really talk about it after the movie. And I think that my real concern is that human beings on this planet are not empathetic by default. You can tell by the way civilizations, as you say, have been over the centuries. Mm-hmm. Columbia, Maryland has a curriculum for civility. They've had a full curriculum for K through 12. They teach it in their schools. I lived there for 10 years. They teach civility in Columbia, Maryland. It is online. If you Google, it's there. It should be something that should be taught in all our school systems, but it is not. And it's a good curriculum. It's practical from K through 12. My question to you is, when you're talking about now and our ability to survive AI and the extraterrestrials and everything else, I'm really concerned that we're not going to make it because, again, this is an extremely barbaric race of people that live on this planet. Do you have any remarks about that? That's my whole thing. My question is, what do you think? How are we going to manage?
I hear you and I feel you, okay? I hear you and I feel you. If I could put it this way, it all comes down to the people that we revere as leaders, the people that we revere as icons. If we go back to what you were talking about with the music artists first, one of the things I said was they have to recognize that they've already made their following, they've already made their money. Now it's time to monetize it in a way that they don't use those systems anymore. I make more money than most rappers. I'm a musician, and nobody knows who the hell I am half the time because I found a way to monetize my music in ways that through licensing and playlists in department stores, and then also just right through the mainstream system. The way that the system is set up now, they have somebody with 40 million followers have the capability of becoming a billionaire without the system that exists that got them to that level. They can actually jump ship and do it on their own. They just have to have the courage to do it, and they have to also be conscious and awakened enough to do it. When it comes to what you're talking about with empathy, it comes down to the quality of leadership, okay? And we're only going to be as good, unfortunately, as mankind as our leadership. And so if we have people in positions of power, whether it's on the councilman level, the mayoral level, the governor level, the congressman, senator, all the way up to the presidential level, each individual level has to be analyzed. Because when you are in your household, for the most part, not all the time, but for the most part, your kids are going to be a reflection of the parent. Not all the time, and I have to emphasize not all the time, because some kids just get way the heck out there for no damn reason. I already know that. Raising 5. I raised 5 kids, I got 5 grandkids, so I'm talking from experience. But for the most part, I can see reflections of myself in all of them, all 10 of them. The kids, my children, who are all adults now, they're all old, and my grandkids, right? Why is that? Because I'm giving them a template to go by. If you utilize and understand that, now when I was growing up, utilizing what I saw as a template was pretty dramatic and pretty traumatic, you know? I mean, I loved my parents, but watching my mom chase my dad around the house with a butcher knife, not the best thing. And why in my neighborhood did most of the kids around me end up becoming abusers, drug addicts, drug dealers, criminals, murderers, and in prison is because of the template that they had. Now we fast forward into, we need a civility program. I agree with you 100 1,000%. We need to take that and we need to spread it. And because you told me that, that now is a little burning bush in my brain to add something like that to my online communities. Because we look at the current state of America today, and we look at the leader, and I'm not getting political, I'm just stating absolute bare bones facts. When you have a leader that is more leaning towards lack of empathy, egotistical behavior, narcissism, malignant narcissism, and things like that, what happens is it's not that the majority of the people actually really truthfully have that deep inside of them. Not they want to act it out, but they have it deep inside them, but they begin to act out the darkness that's supposed to be controlled. In other words, that person has given them the freedom to release that darkness now. Where they've had it suppressed, it has now been released, and we see more of the darkness being spread around. And it's only a reflection of the father of the nation. And that's not political. This is, you can study this in science. You can study this basic science, basic understanding of psychology. I talked to several psychologists. I talked to the #1 psychologist in the world about this, a person that actually is very political and into all that red and blue stuff, which I'm not, but had to come to terms with the fact that, yes, this is what's happening. So now look around the world at all the nations. Who's leading most of the nations? People with those same characteristics. So the people under them are becoming reflections of their father. This is the problem that we have. We don't have rulers and kings that have the best interest of the people at heart 24/7. We don't have rulers and kings that have empathy, a depth of empathy, understanding, that truly really care. When you come on TV and actually make a statement that says, I don't care about what they think, that's saying straight up to your face, that person doesn't care, and it's not even being hidden. But when you have a person come on the TV and say, I didn't know that, the reporter tells them something, I didn't know that, that's interesting, I really need to look into that. Now you're showing a level of empathy. You just told me about disability training, and now I'm sitting here telling you I'm going to find a way to implement that because I came all the way to New York, from California to Miami to hear you say civility training. And I'm going to implement that. It's really good. You see? But now, I believe you, but if I'm running a country and I hear that and I go, man, this lady, shut up, lady. I don't want to hear nothing about no civility training. I'm ruling this thing. I got control over everything. Matter of fact, I'm going to find a way to siphon more of your taxes because you brought that idea to me. Now I'm going to charge you for civility training, and then I'm not even going to use it. This is what I'm talking about. We have to find a way to infiltrate the system. Right now, we keep staying on the outside of the system, and including myself, I'm not going to lie. When I say infiltrate, these people plan for generations. They have even what they call wedlock children on purpose. Different names, different family line. You don't even know that the dad is the Rothschild. You don't know that the dad, the bloodline is the Rockefeller. They're being groomed for positions of power in senator, Congress, governor, way before they can even change their diapers, before they can even get out of their diapers and get and use the toilet, potty trained. They have been designated to these positions. We have to take the same mindset. We have to get the Trojan horse mindset. This is something I just learned over the last few years. If we don't become Trojan horses in the system, it's not going to change. People say to me, why are you trying to take your company public? Why do you want to be on mainstream? What? Because I need to become a Trojan horse. I got to get on the inside and blow up from the inside out. I can't be on the outside complaining and whining anymore. I got to get inside this system. I got to put people in the system that can press the right buttons to make things happen and make things change. We got to start raising our kids to get them into infiltration within these systems. And then we explode this system from the inside out. If we don't do that, it's never going to change. Thank you.
All right, hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, I see all hands up, but before we move forward, I just want to preface with respect for the time and programming as well as our guests, please note that I will be taking 2 more questions in this side of the room, 2 more questions on this side of the room, and then we're going to proceed with programming and just some sound healing. Thereafter, we'll allow space for some light networking, and if Billy has capacity and he has bandwidth with his time, he can answer some additional questions, but I have to move this along. And also for our guests that just got here, welcome to Sankofa. But there were some hands that were up prior, so I do want to acknowledge those hands. Okay. So as I stated before, I'm just taking 2 more on this side and 2 more on this side.
Thank you so much. Hello, my name is Miss A-Bag, and honestly, I'm honored to meet you in real life, in real time. Billy Carson, like, you truly don't understand. That's crazy, because you came by my feed on YouTube randomly, because I am very intentional with what I ingest, especially on the rising. But yeah, I came across one of your videos, and it's just like really crazy to see you in real time. So going back to the points, especially because Soul Tribe just pulled up and missed this point about the atoms and how they're alive and that they're conscious that they're alive. And even Brother Tiago brought this up to me months ago, and I was just like, I don't know about that. But it made me think about this movie that just recently came out called Backrooms. I don't know if anybody saw it. I don't know if you saw it, but towards the end of the movie, the main character is talking to his therapist about what these figures are in the room. He says that this is what the room remembers them as. And these figures could be like you, but a very disfigured way of what you look like. You could have 3 glasses, 2 ears, but the room remembers you in this room. So all in that to say, now being aware that this is a confirmation how we are as a collective, a society, and even where I stand, how can I utilize this information to quantum jump into the desired reality that I desired my version of myself right now? Because I see myself like you on TED Talk, and I'm a very woke person, very serious person, very intentional. All my friends know me, and I keep it real, keep it woke, because this is not a joke. Like, how can I quantum shift? Because I know there's myself in a room right now, but on the stage, TED Talk, doing the same thing, because you are my reflection. Right. So how can I quantum jump to that? And thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Beautiful. Yep. And I'm just panning the room with these glasses so I can show the world how many beautiful people showed up tonight. I'm just recording y'all, just letting you know. Right, thank y'all for being here. I appreciate it. So that's a great question. And now we're talking about fracturing timelines. Okay? And this is really important because we fracture timelines every single day, almost every moment that we take an action behind a thought. In order for everyone to be here tonight, you had to fracture your timeline. You were headed down one path, then in a certain day or a certain time, you saw an email or a text message or a friend said, hey, this is going down tonight at the Sankofa Haus. You got to be here. And now you've heard the information, but you had a decision to make. Do I make time for this or not? And because you had that conscious thought, and then you took action, you registered, you logged the location, you look at your schedule, you set the time, you figured out how you were going to arrive in this location at this particular moment in time on this XYZ axis. And when that happened, timeline fractured. Your original version of you is still moving in the direction that never came here. Parallel reality exists. This version of you is moving along this timeline now where you arrived here to be around this vibration, to hear this word, to soak in this energy, to get coherent. And now you ask this question. And my answer to you is, you're going to fracture this timeline again. Because now you had the conscious thought, you want to be in a position of speaking, teaching, enlightening on a bigger stage where more people can hear the voice, more people can get the knowledge, so you can have a better impact on the world, which is a great, great thing to want to do, a great achievement. And so now you have the energy and the vibration that synchronizes with that. So now you're moving into the vibration of being a person that's standing on a TED Talks, that's standing on a stage, that's sitting in a fireside chat, that's going to conferences and workshops and teaching. Because you have already done it in your mind, and that's the vibration you're synchronizing with, now the next step is you're going to start looking for these particular opportunities, but not only are you going to look for them, they're going to look for you. And now, timeline fractures, and you're moving along another timeline. And those ripples that you create on that timeline are going to travel into the future. And they're going to alter future realities in this third dimension. You become a time traveler. And we're all capable of doing it. And that's how it happens. You get on the vibration of what you want to be, and that then synchronizes with you on that new timeline. And it's all about shifting timelines. And we're doing it all the time and we're not even realizing it. To be at the age I am, I might have fractured 1 trillion timelines by now to be here on this stage. These are all results of what the ancient Kemetic principles calls the principle of cause and effect. So when you have a conscious thought and you act on it, you will get a consequence. Sometimes it'll be a good consequence, sometimes it'll be a bad consequence, but I guarantee you will have a consequence. Every single thought. So if you pre-think your next conscious action based on what you want to do, and you pre-see how that it can unfold in the future, you can then have a better result of where you're going instead of just randomly flowing through life and just showing up and just seeing what happens. Conscious intent behind where you want to go, what you want to be. A lot of people in life, they're waiting for this wave of reality to crash over them. Oh, this is the moment that I'm in right now. But the people that are really making a difference and moving in a high vibration and shifting realities, they're not waiting for that wave to crash. They're surfing the wave. We're surfing the wave. You're surfing the wave. You created this whole thing right here. You're surfing on the wave. You're not waiting for the wave to crash over you, because if you were waiting, you'd be outside walking down the street somewhere doing something totally different. But you're sitting here right now, and all these people came because you got on the right vibration, the vibration of dispensing information and knowledge and awakening. And that's what surfing is all about. So now you're surfing the wave. Surfing the wave is closer to reality, because we know that we experience reality up to 7 seconds in advance consciously, but we don't perceive it in reality, right, until it actually happens. This was an actual experiment that happened. And they discovered things like Michael Jordan, when they asked him, how are you able to do all this and go and weave through 5, 6, 7 people and score all these points? He said, they're not moving at my speed. He's perceiving reality at a totally different rate. He's surfing on the wave. The NBA players he's going against are actually waiting for the wave to crash. By the time they realize he's crossed them over, he's gone. He's a blur. But in his eyes, they're moving in slow motion. So we get to that level up here, and that's what begins to happen. And so because you even brought it up now, so I will get your information, and I'll find out how I may be able to connect you to some conferences and things that are going on. Yeah.
Hi, Billy. Carson is in the Bronx. This is so crazy. Like, this is so crazy. I hit my bro Mike up like, yo, you got Billy in the Bronx?
I'm in the boogie down Bronx, man. Come on now.
I love it. I love it. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Like, we need this,
Yeah.
you know? I feel like everybody here is on the same vibration, and we're all seeking for information
Yeah.
so that we can, you know, get to that ultimate level of our higher self. I've been watching you for such a long time.
Thank you.
On Brother Rich's channel, Black Magic 36, you know that one?
Yeah.
So it's been a minute, like you've been in my world, you know, in my head. And I want to talk about quantum jumping and ask you some questions very similar to the young lady behind me. When I was in my early 20s, I would do it before I had like big events coming up. And I read a book called Think and Grow Rich. And this guy named Burt Goldman created a practice called quantum jumping. And basically you see your doppelganger in another dimension doing the things that you want to do in the dimension you're currently in. And you know, when you're in your 20s, life hasn't smacked you on your head yet. So I thought everything was possible. But for real, everything I saw and did the practices, it happened. I'm not joking. It all happened, and it's still happening. Even though I'm not necessarily doing those exact practices, I have other things that I'm doing. So my question to you is, what do you do when you feel stuck? You know you can manifest. You know you're powerful. You know you that one in your family. You don't have no job. You are the job. You're the entrepreneur. You're traveling the world. You're in your purpose. You're in your passion. You're doing the thing. But you still feel stuck. I feel like that's personally, just to be transparent, where I am. I don't know if it's fear. I don't know if it's, you know, maybe things that have failed or what so have you, but I feel like, what are the tools that I need to practice to be unstuck? Where do I need to go move to be in a vibration where I'm just at this higher level? Because nobody around me gets it. I'm in a space where I'm ready to cut everybody off to get where I need to get. What does Billy Carson do when he feels stuck, if you ever do?
Listen, I know people think I'm an alien. But I do have some human tendencies. I think everybody experiences what you're talking about at some point in their life, and you know, no matter how big you get. You know, this is why I started my online academy, the Forbidden Knowledge Academy, because one of the main reasons why we end up falling into that mode is because there's nobody around us in our immediate space that we can actually look to, talk to, and get on the same vibration with. So I know that space is an illusion, distance is an illusion, right? So in the virtual world, in the academy, everybody there is there to support you. There's 1,780 people in there now in my academy, all vibrating on the same frequency, all their support to help, to guide, to be there for you. So one thing is finding a place that you can go. That virtual space is a global space. We have people all over the world that are on there 24 hours a day. You can go to even ask a question, post a thing, take my classes and courses, post your information in there as to, I give you a lot of instruction, like what you should do about this, what about that, what about this, you gotta post it in there. They come to support and hold you accountable for your decisions and how you're gonna move forward, which is really good. And then I do live mentoring sessions on Tuesday nights and things like that as well. That's one thing. But the second thing also is sometimes we get to this place where we put this invisible ceiling on ourselves. We've gotten to a point, everybody, I'm not using this as a derogatory, but they're down there, like my family, my siblings, and they haven't made it to the level. So I'm using it as a metaphor, not as a real, like I'm looking down, but like I've risen above them in so many different ways, right? And there's so much more that I really want to achieve and do, and I found myself reaching this ceiling. And in order to get to the level that I really want to achieve, I couldn't figure it out. I got stuck. I literally got stuck. Was I living a decent life and things like that? Yeah, but I still felt like I got stuck. And I began to analyze, why am I stuck? How come I'm not progressing? How come this now is becoming so hard and tumultuous and rough, right? I feel like I'm going against quicksand or something. I'm not moving anymore, and I can't figure it out. I started realizing that I had this invisible ceiling. You know, if you take a flea, some of y'all know this, a flea can jump from this floor all the way up to my shoulder. That's how powerful a flea can jump. But scientists took fleas and put them in a jar, and then they put the lid on the jar, and they just watched them fleas jump, 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 jump. They put the jar on the shelf. They came back a few days later. The fleas are still in the jar, still jumping. Take the lid off. The fleas never jumped out of the jar. They had given themselves this invisible ceiling. Even though the lid was removed, they had programmed themselves that that was their ceiling, that this is as high as we can jump. Here's the crazy part. After they had replicated, had babies, and the fleas started growing up, who had never known about anything else but that jar, those fleas never jumped out of the jar either. So there's this subconscious ceiling that we're all prone to, no matter how high you get. I talk with billionaires all the time. They go through it. Billionaires. I didn't feel so bad anymore. I was like, damn, okay, well, I'm all right. I'll figure this out. But it comes also to this other thing. Once you realize, once you bring the awareness that you put a ceiling on yourself, I didn't realize, I was saying to myself all the time, this is hard, this is rough, I can't believe this, how come I'm not why? I was in a vibration of a ceiling, but I was affirming through my mouth growth and prosperity. You know, transformation, become bigger than this and help this and do that and help the world and change this nation. But in my vibration, my core was like, I'm stuck. I don't understand what's going on. I had mismatched frequencies. What happens when you take a magnet and reverse them around? The polarities push each other apart. They don't attract anymore. I was pushing away my growth. I was pushing away my blessings. I was pushing away my development transformation because my internal core frequency, it was saying one thing, but outwardly I'm saying and speaking something totally different. And when I realized that, between the ceiling that I placed on myself, which was leading me into these ants are called automatic negative thoughts just seeping in, then I was able to get control over those thoughts and I became the observer of my thoughts. And once I became the observer of my thoughts, I was able to self-correct and go, oh, no, restate that. In my mind, restate. And then by switching that vibration internally, recognizing, bringing awareness to the fact that I had put myself in this situation, it allowed me to see what I needed to do to transform the situation. I had to start cutting people off. I had to get divorced. That was a hell of a risk because, I mean, most guys never file a divorce. Only 15% of men file for a divorce. It's a big risk, but men are hard lovers. When you're trying to make something work, we're hard lovers. We'll go through fire and try to make things work. But I came to the realization that what was going on behind the scenes wasn't good. And I had to roll that dice, and I was just like, please don't be snake eyes. And it wasn't, thankfully. And so I had to make all these major shifts. Like, these were like major shifts, like major. Most people would just suffer through and say, I still got to grow. No, you ain't about to grow nowhere. You're not about to grow nowhere. Once I started cutting people off, rearranging my inner circle, which was already a dot to begin with, but I had infiltrators. I was like, damn, how the hell did they get in here? And I let them in. That mask could be on, but that mask will crack. And you got to see those cracks before it get too late. And I let the mask completely fall off, and I said, oh, we'll fix this, but you can't fix it. And I had to start rearranging my inner circles and changing things around. I restructured my company. And the moment I cut all that dead weight, what happened? Everything transformed. Somebody I met was brought to me and brought me a guy with a company that was public. I acquired that company. Well, that company acquired forbidden knowledge, and then I acquired the company. A very big time move. So I was acquired, then I acquired, and then I became the owner of a publicly traded company in the stock market within 3 months. I had been trying to do that for 5 years, and I was still the old-fashioned way, maybe 7, 8 years away, I calculated, from doing it. But these are just small. That's just a small example. My self-peace. My peace had gone to 10x. My tranquility, 10x. My anxiety went down super low. My ability to think again and be creative again and get back into my imagination blossomed all over again. All my new ideas, I was able to act on them and actually implement them. I had become completely siphoned and suffocated and couldn't do anything. Again, this is what I did to myself. So another part of it is realizing it's me that did this to me. Nobody else. I can't be angry at this one. I can't be angry at that one. I can't be mad. But a shark is going to be a shark. And when you put blood in the water, a shark is going to attack. We know this already. Well, we got to know how to stay away from the sharks. And if you are around sharks, don't bleed. You know? But that's what I would say. It's just that realization, the awareness that it's happening is the first part. The fact you brought it up today tells me you're ready to transform. You're ready to get out of it. Put yourself in different environments. The 5 people you're around is going to be your fitness, it's going to be your mental health, your conversation, your finances, all of that, right? So all of a sudden you're gonna have to make a deep evaluation. It doesn't mean you don't love them, but like you see when that space shuttle used to launch, it had 2 booster rockets on the side, but when it got to a certain height in the sky, those booster rockets, they fall off because they can't go where the rocket is going. They can't go where the shuttle's going. They gotta fall back to Earth. Some of these people gotta fall off. They were only there for a moment, but they're not there to go for the entire journey. And you can fool yourself into thinking they were there for the entire journey. They should be for the entire journey, but they're not. And if you fool yourself into believing that, then when they fall, you fall.
All right, real quick, guys.
Yeah. Keep going.
Billy, wait, you see what you started? You see what you started. This program's gonna go over. Okay, again, as I stated before, with respect to the program, I'm gonna take 2 questions here.
Okay.
We'll go into some sound healing, and if time permits and you're not in a rush, for those that have just come or those that we haven't gotten to, we'll revisit some of those questions, okay? Just really quickly, Casey, I just want, you asked a really vital question, and I believe most of us in this room knows this already. Billy, you made a point. It's all about community. I just have to do a quick plug for Sankofa. If you do follow us, if you're not, please go on Instagram at Sankofa Haus and follow us. But particularly when we talk about community and wanting to practice and modalities and just connect with like-minded individuals, we do have an amazing activation that happens every Monday called Mindful Mondays, led by our conscious curator in-house, Ether. Ether, don't be shy. Raise your hand. And so I know most of you know Ether already. However, I do encourage you, stay connected. Please come out to Mindful Mondays. Every Monday, it's a different activation, a different modality, whether it's breath work, whether it is community, whether it's just whatever that looks like. And also just calling on individuals who have activations and want to bring just their energy to this space. We do welcome, please connect either with Ether or Michael or myself. We'd love to connect and keep it going. So I just want to say that. Last 2 questions, we'll move into some sound healing. And if time permits and Billy has time, we'll get to the rest of your questions.
Hey, Billy, how you doing?
All right, brother.
Long-time supporter. My name is Harvey. People have been asking really heavy questions, serious questions about self-improvement, self-love, and guidance. I want to switch it up a little bit. Ask a fun question, really quick. You deep dive into aliens and Anunnaki and the Emerald Tablets and all these otherworldly beings.
Yeah.
You're sitting in front of a Stargate right now. Mm-hmm. If that were real, and you could walk through a Stargate to visit a different dimension, would you do it? Why or why not?
Yeah, I would definitely do it.
Hey. That's it.
I mean, it's I'm an explorer. Obviously, I take people on tours all over the world. I've been around the world 25 times now. This last trip I just took maybe hit my 25th time, and I'm headed to Antarctica in December. Yeah, so I'm going to Antarctica, and that's going to be huge. So I don't think any black guy's ever documented Antarctica. Maybe Will Smith, I don't know. But I'm going down there. So the point I'm making, though, is I'm an explorer at heart, man. If I can go to Mars right now and explore Mars, I would hop on the first ship to go.
I'm happy you said that.
Yeah.
I'm happy you said that. So we have access to that right now. I don't know if you know about DMT, ayahuasca, these other substances that kind of open up stargates within us.
Yeah.
You're sitting right next to my brother Mike. He and I have indulged in DMT and ayahuasca in the jungles of Peru. It's available to you right now.
Yeah.
I heard you say on one of your podcasts, you said that you don't want to do it because you're afraid of it messing up your memory or your...
I did try, though.
You tried it?
Yeah, I went to Dave Asprey's 40 Years of Zen at the beginning of 2025 when I was going through all this reorganization of my life and changing things and getting rid of things and people and everything. And I went to Dave Asprey's 40 Years of Zen in Seattle, Washington. It was 1 week of really heavily guided psychedelic, but also 4.5 hours of meditation in a deprivation pod connected to EEG cap, which is connected to computers and a technician 24, the whole time you're there. They're reading all the data, all your brainwave states and everything, different types of cognitive tests, sitting with psychotherapists and psychiatrists for integration after the 4.5 hours for another 4.5 hours. It was pretty intense. That's why they call it 40 years of Zen. Like, I mean, it was 40 years of Zen in 1 week, 5 days, every day, all day. It was a lot. And I had an experience where I literally went through portals. I was in dimensions. I was part of a dimension.
There we go. There we go.
I saw hieroglyphs that I couldn't even understand. I became part of a tree. Then I was in a spaceship. I did it. I know I said I wouldn't do it, but I definitely tried it, and it was transformative. Yeah.
Proud of you for doing that. Proud of you.
Yeah, thank you, man. January of 2025, the beginning of last year.
What medicine did you take? Was that mushrooms? What was that?
It was ketamine.
Oh, ketamine.
Yeah. It was administered with a nurse and a doctor there.
Okay.
They have a very strict protocol there. You know, they give you a chef and all this stuff. And I got to a point where I didn't even know if I had legs and feet anymore. I was like, do I have arms?
Wow.
I don't have arms. It was crazy. It was wild. Yeah. No, it's not. It gave me an effect, a psychedelic effect like a DMT. It was what they call a hero's shot.
Ooh,
Hero
you took a
dose.
hero shot.
Yeah, yeah. That took me out. I was gone. That took me out of here.
Nah.
I got to a point where I said, am I going to get back?
Ooh. Oh my God.
Arm. Yeah, no, not intravenous, no, right in the muscle.
Oh.
Shot in the muscle, yeah. I didn't know if I was going to get back. I said, am I going to be able to get all the way back? I felt like I was that far away. But I'm back. I'm back and back.
Just note, this will be our last question before we transition into sound healing, and then.
No problem.
Spoiler alert, you still on the trip right now. Because you in the South Bronx. The intellectual hoods is outside right now. All right. With that being said, that was a great question.
Yeah.
It actually leads into mine. I've been following you for some time now. I'm not sure exactly when it happened, but it had to be during the blip.
Okay.
Where Thanos snapped his fingers. I think that was around when all the shots was given out and everybody was being pushed into one of the biggest fear campaigns ever in life. So if you survived that and you said no, congratulations.
Yeah.
That was world shifting. With that being said, dreams. It sounds like everything we was talking about is dream states. So some people do not have dreams anymore. Like they just completely cut off from their dream state. Me, I'm not one of those people. I dream every night, even if I forget it really fast in the morning. I still remember the fact that I had a dream. I was somewhere. I saw somebody, either my parents who crossed over or something of significance that I see all the time. So how do our dreams play into the reality space? And is there a way to decipher them or possibly design a reality while in the dream state? Take control of it, actually.
This is a great question. This is a really good question, man. Thank you. So, dreams are really when you go into true reality. According to the Aboriginal elders and the Hopi tribe, they call it sleepy time and dream time. And then that's when you really are awake, when you're moving through those dimensions and those realms. You're getting information, you're getting data points, you're getting knowledge, wisdom, and you're getting glimpses at future and even into higher dimensions. And for people who are lacking in having these dream states, there's a special guided dream that I recommend. So you actually go into the state of, and when you're just about to get really tired, you begin the process of a controlled dream. You lay out your plan, you lay out a mission for that plan in the dream, something you want to accomplish. And as you're going through that and playing it in your head like a movie, and you doze off, and you move into theta, then all of a sudden it takes over. Now all of a sudden you end up in that dream state, and you get into what I call a controlled dream. As far as being in that dream state or having a lot of dreams and people trying to understand and decipher what these dreams are really all about, I actually developed, using AI, I developed an app called Decode My Dream. So decodemydream.ai, it's actually free right now. It's not on the App Store yet, but the app is on the web, so you can actually go to the web and utilize it there. Decode My Dream. And in Decode My Dream, what happens is, as soon as you have a dream, when you wake up, you go right to the app and you start typing what you can remember from the dream. The app then begins to extrapolate even to render an image, a dream image for you. Wow. And it begins to pull up the key animals, the key spiritual aspects of it, things that will give you clues so you could begin to tap in and remember for yourself. It doesn't want to influence you. It wants to bring you back to your own remembrance. And so I developed that app, and it's going to be on the App Store probably in about maybe 2 weeks. But it's free, doesn't cost any money. Decode My Dream. Yeah. You can decode your dream and just utilize that app. But guided dreams are a big thing. You can go to the web, decodemydream.ai on a web browser, on your phone, or on a computer. And then soon you'll go to the iOS or Google Play and get the actual, the application. But it's the same thing. It just works right now on the browser. Because I'm in beta testing mode right now. Just testing out all the functionality, getting people in there, getting them using it, making sure it doesn't have any crashes and things like that. I also develop apps. So one of my companies is an app company. I think I have 20 apps out right now. Yeah. I try to develop apps that solve problems.
Excellent. Thank you for following me too on IG. My friends went crazy when they saw that.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Billy Carson.
So I'm going to bring Ether up. He is our wellness director. I have the privilege of asking the very last question as the owner of Sankofa Haus. It's a very quick question. If you had some words to share with the Bronx, which is historically known as one of the most disparaged and underserved communities, words for us and words for the broader Bronx, for us to move forward with integrity, with focus, what would those words be?
Yeah. That would be simply this. Know that you have the power. It's already inside of you. Everything you need is sitting right inside of you in this exact moment. Because we are literally a spark or a fractal of the divine consciousness that created this entire realm. And because we are a fractal of God, we are a version of God walking in the flesh, every single one of us. So we have the power to create. We have the power to transform ourselves and transform our exterior reality. But the key to transforming the Bronx is a transformation on the inside first, which is why everyone's here. When this changes on the inside, as within, so without, the outside will naturally transform. If you're in your house and your dishes are piled up and your bed's not made and your table's got stuff all over the place and everything's messy, it's nothing but a reflection of what's going on inside of you. Once you take the energy and the awareness to straighten and clean that mess up, you'll find that you'll feel better. Anxiety will drop. Blood pressure will drop. You'll feel more confident. Brain fog will go away. Why did this happen in a scientific study? Because as within, so without. They took cells from a person's body and they put them 3 miles away in a different laboratory. And then they started doing a stimulus to the person who was 3 miles away and monitoring the person's cells that they took out of the body that were 3 miles away, and guess what? They responded. We're connected to everything energetically. The distance is an illusion. It doesn't matter. So since distance is an illusion, the power's inside of us. We can transform the world. We start within ourselves, and the outside, the exterior, will begin to transform. This is why what you're doing here is so important, because you're helping people tap in. You're not transforming them. They're transforming themselves. And everything around them on the outside will begin to transform and change. Imagine this entire city being in black and white. And every time you have a meeting, more color pops up, and more color pops up, and more. Those glyphs are across the street there. They turn more colorful. Why? Because the awakening is happening. So you're helping to spread this awareness of internal work that's going to spread, and it's going to expand to the outside.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the one and only Billy Carson. So right now, we're going to have a quick moment of sound healing with my brother Ether, and then we are going to close things out. Billy in the Bronx, thank you guys for being in Sankofa Haus. Guys, I want everybody to just hang out for like 10 to 12 minutes. Ether's going to share some beautiful magic with all of us. No, you can sit with us. You can sit with us. You can sit with us. So Ether, here's the microphone, and you do your thing.
Hey, what's up, what's up? Bless you, brother. Thank you so much. Gotta shake the hand. Yes. My name is Ether. I am a sound practitioner. I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher. I'm a director here for wellness. I do a lot of things for community and for honoring tools and practical ways that we can bring power and, regulation of our nervous system back into our communities, into our lives. And so I'm going to share some of that with you this evening. I have a sound temple over by Yankee Stadium, so we have like 14, maybe plus, different indigenous instruments all over the world. We do sound baths on the full moon. I teach yoga there. We have gallery showings, plenty of conscious different experiences. So this gong right here is actually from the temple. We brought it on over for Bill and, for all of you to experience this evening. The symbol of it is Mercury. This is the planet for communication. So I always say that, as we think about the planet for communication, Mercury, that is the symbol in the throat chakra. That actual principle exists in all the other chakras, all the other facets, right? Your mind, your body, your spirit, they communicate with each other. All of your chakras, they have different characters that reflect this world. They commune with each other, individually, and with you. So, as we think about this time, as we're looking to foster more communication, refining our boundaries, developing more vocabulary, may you set the intention to use the frequencies of this indigenous instrument from Asia that opens up blocked, stagnant energy to cultivate whatever communications you may want. Whether you're trying to find more communication, whether you're trying to develop a deeper listening to the universe and how it communicates with you. May that come for you. And if you could just give me a moment to just bring some of the tools out, maybe just 15 to 20 seconds, I invite you in this moment, taking a moment, maybe a hand on the heart, feeling grounded in your sit bones in your chair or wherever you're placed, noticing the energy in this room, maybe noticing the breath, maybe noticing the beat of the heart. And like I mentioned, the planet Mercury for communication. I invite you to set an intention of what type of communication are you looking to foster in this new chapter in your journey? Excellent. We'll do 3 deep breaths before we begin. One of the things that connects us all, the breath. So tuning into that intention, whatever element of communication you're looking to bring into this world, into this new chapter of your journey. Taking a very slow, deep breath in through the nose, filling the belly. And a gentle sigh through the mouth. Excellent. Let the breath regulate, tuning into the second breath, grounding and anchoring whatever you're looking to foster, deeper listening, better communications with yourself, your loved ones, aspects of you. And taking that second deep breath in, filling the belly. A gentle sigh. Excellent. Coming into our last breath. Wherever you're looking to foster, wherever you can make more room, and then we'll work with the gong to support us, to amplify all the intentions we're setting right now. Taking that last deep breath in through the nose, filling the belly. And a gentle sigh. with the eyes still closed, to simply notice the breath, bringing subtle awareness to the inhale and the exhale of your diaphragm. Maybe you could notice the subtle beat of your heart, but slowly allowing the natural, organic rhythms of your body in this moment guide you back in whatever manner that be. You're welcome in this moment to maybe wiggle a finger or toe to slowly bring in subtle sensation. I feel so privileged to be in this room. Not only because we have such a renowned leader of this new age with us, Carson, but also for the beautiful spectrum of divinity that exists here, for community existing here, for us not repeating the same mistakes that our elders and ancestors did, for us learning, growing, seeking greater. It is a privilege to be amongst you all, and it's a privilege to be in this time of life. It is a gift. It is a gift to share this medicine, and I pray it walks with you and opens up more doors than you can imagine. Ashe.
Wow, it's powerful. Thank you. Thank you. Give it up for Ether, ladies and gentlemen. As we close out, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say thank you to Billy Carson for helping us forge a new future, for giving us guidance. And I just want all of us to clap our hands and give it up for a God amongst gods, Mr. Billy Carson. Y'all can do better than that. Make some noise for Billy Carson in the Bronx, y'all.
Just go out, man, and spread the word, spread the good word. But don't overwhelm people with too much information at once. You already know what I mean. You got to learn how to drop seeds and then let those seeds grow a little bit. And when those seeds start growing, they'll come back and ask you more questions. But if you come there and try to grow the whole tree for them, you're going to fail. You got to do that, what they call that, the salt bay. You got to sprinkle, and then you got to be patient. It takes time, okay?
On the count of three, you know the words is Billy in the Bronx. 1, 2, 3.